got
way.
this, girl.
Thank you.
You ready?
I am.
Don't worry about your time. You don't need to time yourself. You're gonna be good.
Oh no. Y'all ain't gonna buzz me.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
I know. I've done this. No. That's horrible. All right, I'm gonna move this so I don't spill it. It's funny. I rarely use glasses, so it's kind of fun. All right. So good morning, everybody. I'm glad you all made it out here today. I want to thank the Creative Mornings team. They've been just really wonderful from the beginning, from the conception to the pitch, to the photographs, to the logistics of getting here and telling me what to do and when to do it. They've been really awesome. So thank you all. And again, thank you all so much for coming out today. I'm really excited to talk to you and to hear from you about the theme of inclusion. So I like to start out every talk I do by kind of dedicating my words and what I'm going to do to a couple people. So today I'm really thinking about Fannie Lou Hamer. So you can look her up, not right now, but look her up. Phenomenal community organizer. Wonderful woman from Mississippi. And I'm also thinking about a woman who's closer to me, whose name is Nance. And she was actually a participant in my Aqua Zumba class, and she passed away a couple weeks ago. And so she actually taught me something really cool about inclusion and about being inclusive that I'll actually end with. So I'm gonna go back to her in a bit. All right. So I'm going to switch. Oh, wait, I get to use this.
That's right.
This is very fancy. So I like Beyonce. So Facebook will tell on you, right? So Facebook will always tell on you, right? So as you can see, May 31st, 2012, I went to my very first Beyonce concert. And this was at Revel in Atlantic City, and I wound up in the front row accidentally. So this is not a zoomed in picture. This is where I was sitting. So close enough to see that they have little straps on their shoes to like keep their shoes on. Because I was like, how do they keep their shoes on? So I wrote there, I'm getting back in the gym real time, and then LOL, because like whatever, I wasn't really gonna do it. But I was so impressed. I just sat there in complete awe. And when I tell you, I just bought the ticket. I didn't know where I was going to sit. And I just wound up sitting there. And I was just blown away for just 2 hours of this woman just singing and dancing just nonstop. And I was like, you know what? I want to be able to sing and dance nonstop, just like Beyonce. And so that's when I wrote, I'm getting back in the gym. And so couple of days later, I did. I went to the gym, and I started in a very fun water aerobics class. Loved it. Went there for a few weeks. And I saw something on the schedule called Aqua Zumba, and I was like, "What's Aqua Zumba?" But it was Aqua, so I said, "Oh, I'll go to it. That looks like a lot of fun." Got there and was like, "Oh my God, this music is great! Like, what do you mean? You can do salsa in the water? Like, that's awesome!" And I kept going and I really just fell in love with going to the gym and being in these classes, and I was really enjoying myself a lot. The one thing that was sort of bad about that part of my life and going to the gym was that even though I was there and I was enjoying myself and I was having fun, I didn't feel like I was fully a participant in the gym. Like I didn't feel like I was being fully appreciated in the gym. I felt like because I was a beginner, because I was fat, or am fat, no was, am, I own it, it's great, that I didn't feel like, I really didn't feel like I was a part of the gym. And that's where this kind of topic of inclusion is really interesting to me, because it wasn't that there weren't bigger people in the gym. There were lots of big people in the gym. But I just saw that there was a way that we weren't being included in the life of the gym. So I kept going to the gym. And then, so as I say, I really like Beyonce. So that was a Halloween costume 1 year. It was really great. So that was my costume 1 year. So after, again, a couple years ago, and again using Beyonce as this beacon of hope and light. So I should also stop and say, so one thing that's really interesting about coming to talk to you today is I never think about what I did with exercise as being something that was creative. So I've always thought of it as being about health or being about social justice in some sort of ways, but I never thought about like, oh wow, like Courtney, you actually saw something, you wanted something else, and you actually went out and made it. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, like that's pretty cool. So shout out to people who create stuff. All right. So some of the ways that I was still experiencing what I was seeing as exclusion at the gym was, one, I was finding instructors who just didn't know how to work with my body, right? So my knees get pretty grouchy at times. I call them grouchy and ouchy. Sometimes they get unhappy. And it was really hard for instructors to know how to teach me how to modify activities, how to do a push-up in a way that worked for me. I often saw posters in the gym that always had, for the most part, it was always a white body, a thin body with muscles, some type of like no excuses, like do it, do it, do it, like do it, do it, do it, that kind of language. And so that really bothered me. It bothered me just hearing what people would say around me, the way they would talk about, oh, they would pinch this, and they would, I can't do that. And that was, it really got to me, because what I felt like was they were doing everything that they could to not be me, right? So often when I was in any gym, I'm gonna walk over here, I was always like the biggest person. And even now today as the instructor, I'm often the biggest person in the room, and that's kind of fun. That's a lot of fun for me to do. And then another thing I saw was there were assumptions about the type of discipline that I had. You know, are you really here? You know, are you going to give it 2 hours, or are you just going to come here and like just walk on the treadmill? And even that language of just, like you're just going to do this or just do that. And finally, another thing I saw that was really odd, and I still don't understand why we do this, is the people who somehow work out in the morning are more disciplined than the people who don't. Right? So like, if you're up at 5:30, you know, jogging somehow, like you're sacrificing, like you're really out there. And I say that as somebody, like I go to 6:45 CrossFit, I've been to 5:30 CrossFit, but I also teach like 5:30 p.m. Zumba. And I'm like, so the nighttime people, like they're sacrificing too, but it was like if you weren't there at like 4 a.m., it's like how early can you get up, right? And that was always just sort of weird to me that we actually cared about what time people got up. So what I found was that I was really only existing as this like cautionary tale, this kind of before picture that I was always kind of there to be a project, there to change. And so what happened was that over time, let me get this right. So over time, I did get stronger. I did lose weight, and I will not talk about weight loss. And if you want to know why, I'll tell you later. But what I found was that over time, people were kind of letting me more into like the inner circle, and they wanted me to like engage in that talk with them. And I really had to think about, did I want to replicate the exclusion that I was feeling, right? Or did I want to do something different? So this picture is actually from Las Vegas. If you've ever been to Vegas and been to the Heart Attack Grill, horrible place, horrible. But they have a scale in the front. This public scale. And so I remember being there like, oh wow, like look at that. And I just like hopped on the scale and was like, let's do it. So that was me, 273, right on, just killing it. Right, and just going for it, right? And it was there that I was really starting to change my mind about what I thought I was there to do, and really pay attention to the ways that I had been made to feel like an outsider, and the way I never wanted that for anybody else. And so what happened is I started getting excited about the back row. So I was always in the back row of the class. this one particular Zumba class, and I would say like, okay, let's make the back row the best row. And then I said, wow, if I can get people excited in the back row, like what could I do if I was in the front of the class? And so I thought about like, do I want to do it? Oh, no. And then I decided that I was going to do it. I was going to give it a shot. So.
What would Beyonce do?
Exactly. Beyonce would say like, go for it and do it, right? Like, what's the worst that can happen? So as was mentioned before, I was a women's studies professor. I went to UCLA and I did a doctorate on Black women's literature and prison. So I care very much about prison studies. And so Audre Lorde has been this, phenomenal thinker in my life since my very early days of being a women's studies major. And she has this very famous essay, Age, Race, Class, and Sex, Women Redefining Difference. So I just want to read 2 sentences, actually 3. Okay, 2. Okay, 3. Okay, so she says there are differences between us of race, age, and sex, but it is not those differences between us that are separating us. It is rather our refusal to recognize those differences and to examine the distortions which result from our misnaming them and their effects upon human behavior and expectation. And then she says, we do not develop tools for using human difference as a springboard for creative change within our lives. We speak not of human difference, but of human deviance. Okay, you got 5 sentences. You've been blessed. Congratulations. All right. So I started thinking about, and then so I wound up leaving. I woke up in the middle of the night and I decided I didn't want to be a women's studies professor anymore, but I wanted to use Black feminism to teach fitness. And so I woke up in the middle of the night and I decided to quit my job and go broke doing this. I did. And so I said, like, how can I bring the legacy and the words of Black women into the gym? Like, why would I think about the gym as a place of inclusion? Like, who cares, right? You go, they have your card on file. You might go, you might not go, but who really cares, right? What that's about. And so I started thinking about that line about how do we think about difference? And difference between just kind of neutral differences between people's bodies, and how might I use that to be creative. So see, creativity shows up again. So I decided I was going to create classes. And so I went out and I got certified and licensed. So today I'm a certified group exercise instructor and a personal trainer, and I teach lots of Zumba all over the place. I also do some other formats that I don't teach, like pound and spinning. So I just like learning about different modes of exercise. And I decided I wanted to create classes, and I wanted to think about what's the best way to make everybody feel welcome there. So I said, so what made me not feel welcome? So one of the things I do, so I'll give you my speech. So if you come into my Zumba class, so imagine you're in Zumba class. You're there dressed in whatever you're dressed in. So I'll say, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Zumba. Morning. And you'll say, good morning, right on. And I'll say, is anybody new to Zumba? Yeah. Yes, right. And then we clap, right? Welcome. You're new to Zumba. And then we'll say, Zumba is very easy, very simple. Zumba is a Latin-based dance fitness program. We're never on the floor. There's no push-ups involved. So if you find yourself on the floor, that means you fell. And we don't want that. I don't want you to fall. I want you to stay upright the whole time, right? So we have 3 really easy guidelines in this class. So we say stay hydrated. So I say drink whatever you brought that helps you dance. Whatever that is. 2, be kind to yourself. Use the body you brought with you, right? Say use the shoulders you brought with you, right? Don't use the shoulders of the person next to you, right? Whatever you do is going to be great. Use the knees that work for you. And then be kind to somebody else, right? So we're nice to ourselves. We're nice to somebody else. I often stop the class. I'll say, have you told somebody they're doing a good job yet? I'll say, like, have you told yourself you're doing a good job? So I'm a big clapper, and I'm like, yes, like, good job, everybody. Good job. In my classes, there's no talk of weight. We don't talk about calories burning. We don't talk about summertime is coming. So if you saw in the picture, my shirt says all bodies are summer bodies, all of them. And so that's just what I do. And then I'll say, so then we're all ready to get started, and then we go. right? So that's kind of the language that I use. I continue to use the language of t-shirts, right? To kind of put that message out there. Because I think there's things that I would have wanted to hear, right? There's pictures I would have wanted to see on the wall of the gyms that I attended that I did not see, right? I just did not see that. Let's see, did that go? Okay. So one of the cool things that I've gotten to do in creating these classes, and so I've been teaching now for probably 4 or 5 years at this point. So one really sort of great thing I got to meet Jessamine Stanley. And so she wrote this book over here, Everybody Yoga. Let go of fear, get on the mat and love your body. And there's a quote from her at the bottom that says, I would say as a fitness professional, especially being a fat fitness professional, you always feel like you have to apologize for your size. And again, when I think about what it means to be inclusive, it means to me that nobody has to apologize for what they bring into the room. No one is any better than anybody else because of what they bring into the room. And it's not just enough for me to say that, but I actually have to put things in place that make that happen, right? Because there's a real difference between diversity, right? Like you can have a whole bunch of people in a room, but that doesn't mean that everybody's going to feel like they're a part of the community, that they're a part of the group. And so meeting her was really important. And we look cute in the picture. Again, I tell people too, like even in Zumba, I'm like, if the arms are getting on your nerves, like let them go. Do the feet. The feet are getting on your nerves, let them go. As long as you're looking cute and feeling good. That's all that really matters, right? And I always say we ain't landing planes, right? It's just Zumba. It's just Zumba. That's it. Because again, when I think about what do people need to hear? They need to hear that they're not being judged. Like I'm not judging them. The person next to them might be judging them, but they might be saying like, wow, she's really good. Or he's really doing something, right? So that might also be happening. So I decided then that I really had to think about, okay, so how do you really do inclusion? If I say, okay, I want to be an inclusive fitness instructor, especially around Zumba, which is what I teach the most. So what I actually did is I actually branched out to teach different specialties within Zumba. So we have our basic Zumba. Then we have our Aqua Zumba, so people are in the water. We also have Zumba Gold, which is a low impact Zumba, which I love teaching. And I also teach Zumba Kids and Zumba Kids Junior. And I also teach a gold toning, so you can do gold and toning with the little weights. And I also just started teaching a seated Zumba class. So I really wanted to learn, how can you take one song, so think of like a song that you know, right? And you might be in one class doing a whole lot of jumping and all of that, right? What if somebody can't jump? What if they can't do that, right? Or this? Can they do this? Can they sit down and do this? Right? Can they be in the water and do this? Right? Can they do that? Right? And what are all the things that they would need, that each person would need to make it work for them? And so I'm going to tell you really quickly the 5 takeaways that I've taken from branching out. One is I've learned that I need to adapt, right? That being inclusive means you always have to adapt. You have to adapt to the people who are in the room, right? So I might come in and be, oh, we're going to do all this. And they're like, we're not doing that. And I'm like, okay. Some days I don't want to do it. I'm like, you're right. I don't want to do it either. I don't want to do that today either. So I get to think about, and again, this is where thinking about yoga really helped. The way that the yogis talk about the expression of a pose, right? That everybody, you can be doing the same thing, but it comes out differently, right? So I think about that in terms of the movement, right? It's the expression of the movement, right? But you can express it any way you want to. 2, I learned that not every exercise class has to be an hour, right? So again, inclusion. But when I think about like, okay, if I have this class, right, does it have to be an hour? Do you have to do 20 push-ups? Does everybody have to do 20 push-ups? For some people, 20 push-ups is going to be okay. But if I say, okay, in our class today, you're going to do 20 push-ups, 20 jumping jacks, 20 sit-ups. Not everybody will want to do that, right? So not only do I have to tell people you can change the movement, but you know what? You can do 20, you can do 5. How about you try 10, right? And again, especially this also works when we're running, right? So at CrossFit, they'll have us like running around the building. And so I can go like 1 round at the same time the other people can do like 2. And I'm like, I'm not doing 2. You'll get one good one, and let that be that. And get out my face. So this is also, and it's funny the way like being the instructor has also changed me as someone in the gym. Like I'm quick to say no, right? So that's another thing. So consent culture and saying no is important, right? We talk about no means no, right? But if your trainer tells you to do something, do you feel like you can say no? Right? Right? Or if something's put out there, do you feel like you can say no? And to me, that's really important, that we learn that my body belongs to me, right? Whether I'm, in a romantic situation, whether I'm at work, or whether I'm in the gym. You don't have a right to tell me. Then they say, no, do a little more. I'm like, so you're coercing me into doing something that I've clearly said no to? And what circumstance would that be okay, right? That's not listening, and that's not being inclusive. So I don't talk at people, I talk to them. And that's one thing I wanted when I first started. I wanted people to talk to me and hear me and know that I was doing the best that I could. The energy in my class shifts from being about me to being about them. So I tell them all the time, you create the energy in the room. It's not me, it's not the music, it's not these moves, right? It's all about you, right? So you are the collective, and you care about each other. You welcome people, you bring people back. It's not me, right? And again, that shifts the dynamic from me focus and me saying, well, I can do 20 push-ups, why can't you? Right? To having everybody in the class work together to think about the things that they might want. And finally, what I learned is that it's okay not to exercise. It's fine. You don't have to, right? So sometimes people will miss class. They'll be like, oh, Courtney, I was going to come to class, but girl. And I say, like, you don't owe me any explanation, right? It's your life, like your body, your life. Do what you need to do, right? Because I never know what people are going through. And I don't want people to feel like they have to explain themselves to me, right? Again, that helps people feel like they belong, right? And whenever you're ready to come to class. Actually, what happens more often, people say, Courtney, I'm coming to your class. I am. I'm going to get it together, and I'm coming. And I'm like, okay, fine with me. We'll be there. Whenever you're ready to come hang out, we'll be there. So I decided that I want to do lots of different types of classes. And also I learned that exercise doesn't have to happen in the gym. So I said, so what about people who can't access the gym, right? So if you don't have a credit card, if you don't have a car, if you feel like you can't be in crowds, right? If you really feel like being in a group is not for you, if the times don't work for you, I was like, what else could I do? And so that's kind of this kind of quest that I'm on now. It's like, well, what else can I do? Where are people at? Where are they? What do they care about? Right? So, and that's not to say, so this was a campaign. It actually started in 2016. They put it out in 2017. So Blink Fitness. So lots of gyms have gotten into this with the kind of body positive and having a real diversity of bodies in their advertising. Because again, what we've seen is that people want this. Consumers want this. They want to see themselves reflected in the advertising for the gym. They want to feel like the gym is for people like them. So the gym is for somebody like me. So I said, okay. So since then, I've taken my Zumba classes into correctional facilities, so here in the state, and that came about because I was doing something with the Department of Corrections, and I happened to mention that I taught Zumba And the women were like, what's Zumba? And so I was like, well, let me tell you what it is. And they were like, can we do it? I was like, sure, let's do it. And so we did that. So that's been really great. I've worked with housing authorities, so I'm really interested in bringing things to community centers. I'm really interested in working with poor folks, like, people who work all day, people who do manual labor. You're gonna go tell them to go get on a treadmill? Like, no, right? So again, thinking about the language that I'm using. And so one of the cool things I really get to do, if you see any of your friends in this picture, go for it. So that was me. So this is last summer. So one of the great joys of my life is that I get to take the profit motive out of this, right? I don't get to make people feel bad so they give me money, right? To make them, to change themselves so then they feel better about themselves and then give me more money. So I teach for free. I've always, since I started teaching, it's been really important for me to teach for free. One, because it is me thinking about inclusion, thinking about money, financial inclusion, people with different amounts of money and stuff. But two, it means I'm totally committed to the people who come. I'm not beholden to a gym, to a fitness center. Even today, I work because I want to. I don't have to work. Right, I can just be cool and chill, right? So this is a class, so I teach free Aqua Zumba through the Exeter Parks and Rec every summer. I've been teaching free Zumba through Exeter Parks and Rec for probably the last 2 years or so. I've been at Phillips Exeter. This is my 3rd year teaching English at the Academy, and I've been teaching free exercise classes the whole time, just about since I've been in Exeter. I really like teaching Aqua Zumba because, again, you get just a whole other range of people who would never come. If I only stuck to one type of Zumba, I would never get to meet the great people that I get to meet. And so I want to end, so that's my picture. So this is a picture I just took. So this shirt is actually from a gym called Radically Fit in Oakland. So there's some gyms that are doing kind of really good work around this topic. And I want to end just with talking about Nance and talking about Aqua. So I've been teaching Aqua Zumba in Exeter at the Exeter Mill for almost a year now. And a woman came to my class and she couldn't get into the pool. So we have a pool that has stairs and there's a railing and there's a chair, it's an ADA chair. And I panicked because I did not know how to use this chair. Now again, I'm somebody who's thinking about inclusion all the time. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like what do I do? What do I do? And so luckily, one of the building supervisors heard me on the phone with the person who runs the class. Is like, I don't know how to use this chair. What do I do? And she came and she showed me how to use the chair. And the woman was able to come to class and everything was fine. Everything worked out. And then I said, like, okay. So I said, Courtney, put on your inclusion hat, right? So one, you learned it, but do other people know how to use this chair? So I made a little video showing how to use the chair. And I sent it out to the 2 other women who teach classes because nobody knew how to use this chair. And then I also made everybody who comes to my class learn how to use the chair. So every class, we would start out with, okay, everybody, show me that you know how to use this chair. Because I didn't want it just to be information that I had that nobody else knew. I really wanted it to be something that everybody knew, but also information that was kind of neutralized. Like once everybody knows it, then everybody knows how to make someone feel more included. But also it shows that our class cares about people who can't get down the stairs, right? It's one thing to have the chair, but it's another thing to actually know how to use it and to be able to help people with it. So I guess those are the kind of takeaways I want you to come away with. I guess if I have to think about kind of what inclusion means. It means being creative and making things that are not there, kind of always living in kind of the realm of possibility and what could be and what could happen. And always thinking about like, what am I doing that I could change so that it could be accessible to more people, right? And it does, we were talking earlier, Lori and I, about Beyonce. I guess all roads do lead back to Beyonce. And Beyonce was talking about rehearsing and about how rehearsals make you humble. And I'm constantly humbled by this work. I'm humbled by just the incredible diversity of bodies that come to my classes. I've learned so much about how Parkinson's impacts people's sense of balance, the ways people having low vision, right, or hearing, right? How do they kind of work in a Zumba, in a class that's built on music and watching me? And I'm just fascinated, and I'm just so impressed and inspired by all the fitness instructors who do the work of learning sign language because they want to know how to communicate. I have a friend who did the trauma-informed fitness. So again, like if we're telling people, you know, clench your stomach, like somebody's gonna punch you, like that's really violent language, right? So we want to think about that. We want to think about folks on the autism spectrum. So there's all these different populations of people who are just waiting to be included, right? And they're just waiting. And so I would hope that all of us, B2 and Beyonce, would continue to keep doing what we can to bring more people together and make everybody feel welcome. So thank you so much. Thank you.